Hey, Sean, welcome to the Mass Construction Show.
Thanks for having me.
Sean, the genesis of this discussion is I listened to you on another podcast, and two things. You started talking about what your apprenticeship was back in Ireland.
Yep.
And it was very interesting to me. So I'm like, I want to talk about that. I think I want my audience to hear what that was, because I think there's some value over here in the States, how we might be able to kind of use some of that approach. And then the other thing was I was completely frustrated by the people that were not asking the questions I wanted them to ask. They would probably ask some fine questions for them.
I feel like there's always podcasts like that. Why didn't you ask this? Why didn't you ask that? So yeah, I get it.
Yep. And as someone that does this, I am sympathetic to them.
Right.
But as someone who
you
does this,
you want more details.
Yeah. And I was just like, how are they not asking him about this? So I am stealing their thought to have you on, and we're going to do it my way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. So I think the great place to start is, can you tell folks what was your apprenticeship back in Ireland? Yeah.
So, I grew up in a family of tradesmen. My dad was a carpenter. My uncle was a carpenter. He had his own cabinet shop. My uncle Paul actually was a carpenter as well. So my three uncles were all in the trade.
More interesting to me though, was it your grandfather was a butcher?
Oh yeah, yeah. My grandfather was a butcher. My uncle actually carries the nickname the Butcher Kelly, so he does. So he had his own butcher shop.
I love it. Is it gone, or does he still have it?
No, it's gone. Okay. So it's funny. My uncle Mark carries the butcher nickname, but my uncle Paul was really the butcher after the fact. But as far as apprenticeship, so my uncles were all in the trades. I worked with my dad probably weekends, as a kid, stuff like that. I would help my uncle. You need a few quid to go buy yourself some sweets, candy, which I still love.
Yes, to this day, very much so.
Yeah, a little much. But it basically started when I was like 10, 12. You'd be on a job site. I spent a lot of time with my grandmothers, so, your help was always needed. Well, my uncle Mark was always like, if you're staying here, you're going to help me. So he had a workshop down the street. So I'd be in there helping him, cut rip sheets. Like I said, he had his own cabinet shop. Basically, I kind of always felt that I was going to be in a trade. My older brother Patrick's a plumber. So, books weren't my strong point. Wasn't overly interested. It was more like
me neither.
Yeah. Yep. Sports, and what are you going to do later on in life? I didn't really feel like books were a good fit for me. Plus, I don't think my old man would have let me stay on the school if I wanted to. So what's funny is I think I actually wanted to be a bricklayer mason, because they make more money back home, or so you think. But
Is it because there's more masonry construction?
A lot more masonry.
So
like
there's here,
yeah. So my whole apprenticeship, it was nothing but block houses. So there was no timber frames. Timber frames come in later on, but they're still not that big in Ireland. So
and is it a block with stucco kind
of?
Yeah,
exactly. There's plaster on the outside. There's different styles, of course, but it's mainly all block. But my man says, no, you're going to be a carpenter. So 16, I left high school. I think we had to spend 2 days in the training centre in Newry. That's a bigger city in Down. It's about 30 minutes away. So we had to spend 2 days there, I believe, the first year. So, you go over different things. The first day, I believe, we'd throw a bit of wood in the vise and we'd use like a plane, just starting from scratch, That went up to eventually, cutting roofs, stuff like that. There are other aspects I can't exactly remember what.
Yeah.
But you're saying the benefit, to what we have here. A lot of people back home would say, "Oh, you're wasting your time in the training centre. You're not going to learn this and that. You're better off on the field." But I believe, whenever somebody hires you as an apprentice back home, they get an incentive.
Okay.
So my old boss, so my dad worked for this company, I also worked for that company as an apprentice. So you can do 3 years or 2 years. I was gonna like stop after the second year. I was like, I don't need to go to third year. But my boss at the time was like, you should go back to third year because there's incentives in this. I don't exactly know what they were.
Yeah,
I believe
no, it makes sense. He could probably pay you more if he's getting an incentive from it, right?
Right. There was something involved there. So, anyways, it's great training and all, you know. And I feel like with that incentive, and again, I got to serve my apprenticeship with my father. You know, that I mean, there's nothing really better than that. You know, he's going to take the time. He wants you to be doing well. He wants you to do things right.
And when you say this 2 days, was it 2 days a month?
2 days a week.
2 days a week.
2 days a week.
2 days a week, and you would go, and you would
We'd
do various aspects of construction, right?
So like we could be in the workshop one day, we could be in the classroom the next day. You know, I can't even, like, for the life of me, can't remember what we were doing exactly. But I just remember there was like bookwork one day, and then he'd be in the workshop another day. You know, we'd build like little bits of. Honestly, I just remember building like a little bit of furniture, and then we done like cutting a roof, stuff like that there.
Yeah. Did you do form work? I think I heard you say.
No form work.
No form work.
No.
So you did roof framing. You did some furniture making.
Yeah.
Did you framing?
I believe we did.
Beyond
all I can
framing?
remember was just cutting a roof. I know, like, I was there for like 3 years.
3 years.
You know, but I can't remember. I can't even remember.
I think you remembered better for the last podcast, guys, because I remember.
Right, because, well, you know, the third day, like, a lot of the class don't go the third year, you know, so it's like first and second. So the third year, a lot of boys drop out, so I can't for the life of me even remember the third year. We went 1 day a week.
Okay.
But I can't remember much from it, to be honest.
Yeah. And then how about the one thing that I chuckled was you said you were using hand tools.
Yeah. Hand tools was a big thing, you know. I remember we'd, whenever we were doing like casing and stuff. Well, sorry, I should bring it back a little further. My dad used to do like homers and stuff, and I'd be going with him, you know, helping bring in tools and all that there.
What does that mean?
Homer's like a little side job of your own.
Okay, yeah.
You know, so you work for somebody and then you do your little jobs on the side.
Yep.
So they're called homers. But you have the little miter box. You'd be cutting like
45 or whatever. Yeah.
I forget the name of the saw. There's a special name for this thing. I can't remember for the life of me. But anyways, he'd use that there. You know, for adjusting miters, you'd use a block plane, stuff like that. They're all hand nailed. You know, no such thing as nail guns or anything like that. I still remember he had this like black toolbox that he himself, you know, coming up through the years had, and he always kept. But he had all sorts of like nice hand tools in there and stuff, like, you know.
You should get your hands on that before it's gone.
I'd love to know where it is actually. Yeah, now that I think of it, yeah. But even us, whenever I was serving my apprenticeship, you know, a hand saw was a vital tool. Like, there was no skill saws or anything like that. Well, there was, but I don't know why we just didn't. Like, nobody wanted to bring in their own tools. My boss at the time wouldn't have been, you know, too frivolous, you know, with like buying tools and stuff. Yeah. But
so you're just taking a handsaw, are you framing roofs with handsaws?
Yeah, cutting a whole roof with a handsaw.
Yeah.
Cutting sheets of plywood with a handsaw. I mean, wild. Like snapping a line and like ripping those sheets with a handsaw.
That must have been exhausting.
There was nothing quite like buying a brand new handsaw, you know, because like
you get a good cut.
You'd use the other one right to the death. But whenever you got a new one, it was like so valued and it was so enjoyable to use. Yeah. You know, it's like I come over here now and I don't even think of buying a handsaw, you know, because you've got that many cordless tools. But
I can't tell you the last time I saw a handsaw.
I know. It's like,
I mean, the one you cut pipe with, like a hacksaw.
Right.
You still see a hacksaw every now and again for someone to cut something off.
Yeah.
But a legit wood saw, like, I remember my dad had one when I was a kid, but like...
A lot of people probably wouldn't know how to use them, I'll be totally honest with you. You know, there's a method to it. Like, you know, you push too hard and the blade's bending and all this here. You know, it's something you learn.
Yeah, you got to get
You have to learn pretty quick when you're serving your apprenticeship. I posted a video on Instagram the other day of me coping a bit of picture mold. Coping's something I really enjoy. You know, a lot of guys would use a jigsaw, they'd use table saw. I use table saw sometimes as well. Jigsaw, I would never use a jigsaw to cope. But, you know, I've served my whole apprenticeship with that. I continue to do it and fancy myself pretty good at it. I enjoy it. You know, it's stuff like that. You know, sometimes when I'm scribing baseboard, I'll just take the block plane out. If it's not so bad, I'll just shave it down, scribe it tight to the floor using the block plane.
Like that.
You know, stuff like that.
So planers, hand saws, coping saws.
Coping saws.
No nail guns.
No nail guns. No. Hand nailed everything.
roofs.
roofs, everything. You know, it was like kind of odd because a buddy of mine would ask me to help him back in the day, and he'd have these Pasload nail guns. I'm like, geez, that thing's class. but we wouldn't have any, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great experience, you know. But even back then, you know, my heart wasn't totally into it. I mean, you just leave school, you're just looking, you know, enough money to get by.
It was a job more than a.
It was more
like
of a job,
passion.
more so than a passion. Yeah.
What do you remember anything that kind of was there a moment in time, or was it just gradual that it started to be that you ended up really liking it?
Just gradual. You know, I still to this day remember my last day on the construction site at home because I think it was my last day. But my boss, it was 2008, the recession just hit Ireland, and he came up to me, I think it was like a Tuesday or something, I can't 100% mind. But he had said, I have to give you your 2 weeks notice, you know, I've no more work for you. So, got my 2 weeks notice, and, you know, I can bring the story on, but that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, no, and tell me, did you attempt to find other work there, or
no,
were you already thinking about potentially moving, or?
I was always thinking about it. I played Gaelic football back in Ireland. I was decent enough at it. My cousins, I had noticed, you know, on Facebook that they were over here playing football for the summer stuff, and it looked really interesting to me. And
were they playing Canton?
Playing Canton.
Yeah.
So that looked really interesting to me. So I got on Facebook that night and I was like, "Hey, would you be interested in having me out to play football?" And they said yes. So I think it was like on a flight like 2 days later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you did your 2 weeks and then you were gone?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, 2 days.
You didn't even do the
2 days.
You didn't even give him the 2 weeks?
Didn't even give him the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think he was probably happy because he had that work for somebody else. You know, that needed it more so than me.
And at that point, what were you doing? Were you doing finished carpentry, or were you doing
everything? Doing everything. So we would take a house from the ground up, you know, obviously not the block, but, you know, we'd cut the roof on first, tile the roof, move inside. We'd even hang the plasterboard, as you call it back home, sheetrock blue board here. We'd hang it ourselves. We'd insulate the roof space ourselves.
Okay, so you got a mason that lays the block, just for people that, this is different construction, right? So you've got someone pours what, slab on grade?
Yep.
Slab on grade. Mason lays the block.
Yep.
Who parges the exterior for the plaster?
Plasters do all that.
Exterior, the stucco.
Yeah, plasters do everything outside. So at home, you do like a plain, like kind of plaster stucco, or else you can like pebble dash it. I'm not too sure if you heard pebble dashing.
Yeah, it's like I can gather
it's
like
actually,
a skip trowel or
it's actually really, you know, cool to watch, where they just like take a shovel full of these like little stones and like smash it into the soft plaster of the house. It's called a pebble dash.
And it like texturizes it?
Yeah, texturizes it. So they'd do that. We'd do the exterior fascia and all that stuff, soffits. So we'd do the roof, we'd tile the roof, we'd do the fascia and soffits outside. A window company would come in and install all the windows and doors, all PVC. You know, I'd noticed now that they're coming very big over here. Just even the function of them is like more so European style that we've had over there for years. You know, even when I was serving my apprenticeship, we had that. Inside, you know, if there was like a roof space or anything, we'd frame the walls.
So now why a window company and why not you guys? Just it's like an efficiency kind of thing?
It's kind of an efficiency thing. I mean, they're supplying the windows, you know, and it just makes sense.
And then who does the blocking around the masonry opening?
So there isn't any. Like as far as wood, you mean?
Yeah.
There isn't any. They shoot directly into the block.
Really?
Yeah. Whenever we're like, so we'd do the sills. So there's like a concrete sill goes in, precast, but we'd put like, we had like,
stay close.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go for it.
We'd have to like pour a little bit of concrete in the sill on the inside and put like little blocks of wood so we can fix our windowsill too.
Okay.
If you get me.
Yeah,
So we'd
I
pour cement in there and like put in little,
kind of like mud set it into.
Yeah. Exactly. But we'd do the insulation, you know, hang the plasterboard, and then we'd hang the frames. Cause we hang the frames at home before plaster, so they can plaster to the frame.
Okay.
It's actually a nicer system, you know.
And then trim over the top. Are you saying the trim goes in and then they plaster right up to the trim?
So we put the door frame in.
Yep.
They plaster to the door frame, so everything's nice and flush,
Yep.
and then we put the trim
The
on
casing
after
over,
plaster.
yeah. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
And then what do they do on the inside of the block? Is it just like a small furred out wall, or is it like?
Yeah, so they'll plaster everything on the inside and the outside. So
Yeah,
they
but
put-
you forgive me. When you said you're putting the plaster board on first, right?
Yes.
You're putting the blue board.
So
What are you fixing that blue board to?
so it's only really the ceilings.
Okay.
It's only the ceilings.
Okay.
If we're doing like a roof space, anything like that, we'll do timber frame up there. So we'll frame all the walls ourselves.
Okay.
But the block plaster straight to it. There's usually a cavity. So there's like 2 layers of block with a cavity in the middle. They'll usually fill that with some sort of insulation.
Oh, that's because I was trying to figure out where the insulation
Yeah,
is. Okay.
yeah. So that's usually where they've put it inside the wall. So there's a
They don't do a full 8-inch block, do they? Then.
no.
Okay.
I believe the blocks might be about 5 inches wide.
Okay.
But you've got 2 layers of them.
Yeah. So you got 4 or 5-inch block, airspace.
Yeah.
4 or
And
5-inch
another one.
block. Well, the insulation in the airspace.
Yeah.
And that air gives you insulation anyway, too, right?
Yeah.
And then they're direct applying the plaster
Direct
to the
applying the
block.
plaster. Yeah.
You're framing all the interior walls, setting the frames.
Not interior walls. Only interior walls on like the second floor.
Okay.
Well, sorry. In some cases, the second floor, I should say. Some houses, I'm just thinking of one job.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we'd have to frame walls. But a lot of the times we wouldn't because like everything's block. There was
So
one
they were
job-
doing block interior walls too, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a big thing. There was one job around there was bison slabs, so they just build right on top of it. Usually, whenever we put the joists in, on a second floor, we decide, okay, we're just gonna do everything out of wood on the second floor, but the first floor is typically all block.
So first floor block interior walls, then you wood frame the floor.
Yes, so there's wooden joists and all go in. So
Yeah.
then the second floor we'd like put down
Plywood.
sheathe it and
Yeah.
then build our walls on top of that.
Okay. And then, but you'd set all the door frames in the block wall on the first floor
Yep.
as well. Yep.
Yep.
So you set all those frames. If it's a 2-story house, you're laying the joists in subfloor and then framing
Yep.
the interior walls, and then obviously all the rafters, and then you're calling them tiles. What's the roofing typically?
So it's usually a tile. We use slates back there as well.
Okay.
It's either tiles or slates.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the tile like? What's it made out of?
I don't really know. As stupid as that sounds.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. No, you were young.
Yeah, forget the material it's made out of.
I'm trying to envision it because I don't like you see thatch roofs
you see
postcards.
Well,
but
picture Italy with those orange tiled roofs.
yeah, okay.
We're just not that
Yeah.
flamboyant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
you know.
So like something that's
Yeah, some of
Either
them have
like
like
a-
a curvature to them.
Yep.
Some of them, the slates tend to be flat.
Yep.
The tiles will interlock.
Mm-hmm.
They've got like a lip that sits on a lath. So we put our rafters on and then we go horizontally across the rafters with a lath. So our tiles can like hook onto, and then we nail them as we go.
interesting.
So they've got a lip and they rest on the lath, but we also nail them.
I like so you end up having basically strips the whole way down the roof.
Exactly.
And you're just
Yeah,
it's
if
like
you can
acting like
imagine strapping inside the house for the blue board,
Yep.
we've got strapping on the outside for the tiles
Interesting.
and the slates.
And
There's
then-
nothing solid. There's like a layer of felt. There's a layer of
Yeah,
felt.
like
goes
felt
over-
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, lath and felt the roof. It's
Yep.
like, it's almost, how many years now? So I'll be back there.
Yeah.
But
So you roll the felt paper and then you put the lathe
and
over
then we
the
put
top
the lath
of it.
over the top
Yep.
of it. Yeah.
And then that allows you to sit the tiles on there, and you just like pin them at the top.
Yeah.
Like
So hand nail the tiles at the top.
top,
It's got
and then
like
the
a couple
bottom
holes.
sits on the
Bottom
the lip.
sits on the other layer of tile going up.
Yep.
You know.
Okay, I like it. So you guys were doing everything. When did you start gravitating? Was it just while you're at work? You're like, hey, I like trimming the place out more. Was there any? Did you enjoy the furniture making stuff at all? Like, how did you end up?
So I'll be totally honest. I mean, I think everyone kind of gravitates towards finish because it's nicer. You're inside,
See, it's funny. I wouldn't,
Right.
because I don't. I'm not detail oriented.
Right. But
So that would give me like an ice cream headache if I had to fucking worry about like
Gotcha.
the tiniest details.
Well, I think some people don't realize that they don't have that eye for detail and they want to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Because we're in New England here, especially here. We're in New England. The winters here are pretty harsh. Well, they have been.
Yeah.
But they want to be inside. I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to be in a roof, anything like that during the summer either. So it's either the heat in the summer or the cold in the winter. But for me, whenever I first got here, I was doing a little bit of metal framing. Hated that. I just knew that I wanted to be doing finish, so I was moved into like the finish aspect of things.
Who was the first person you were working with?
So it was another Irish lad, Molly Barber.
Okay. What did he do for?
He was just
commercial?
a contractor. No, this was actually in Longwood Towers.
Okay.
You know where they are?
Yes.
Yeah. So like there was quite a few apartments in there. So
Yeah.
he had that whole building or whatever it was. So he was doing all that, but he'd have a framing crew and he'd have a finish crew. So I was moved into the finish crew, and just the tools and stuff, and just the way it was timber framed. Because back home, whenever you're putting on baseboard into a black wall, you have to use a certain kind of nail, like an oboe. It's called. It's like a concrete nail.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's it's not the most fun thing to try and drive, and on certain occasions, you
Did it have a double head like a concrete nail?
No, well, it's got like a special kind of oval head.
It's just to reinforce it. So
Reinforce
you
it.
don't bend it. Yeah.
But certain times you'd be beating on a nail into a bit of baseboard, and the nail would just stop, and you'd be smashing it, and it's not going anywhere. But over here, it's like you have to find your wooden studs, and then you're using like nail guns and all the nice tools of it.
Yep.
Wow, I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess so for people that don't know the work you're doing, I would say go to Instagram and look up Kelco Carpentry. But you're doing some pretty nice stuff, right? I mean, you're not because I guess there's people that might gravitate towards finish work and they're slapping speed base on,
Right.
Like when I did the first house we bought and renovated, like it was appropriate for the look of the house. It had wide pine plank floors, but I mean, I was just putting 1x4, cutting 45s on the end and nailing it on the wall, and then that was it. That was the extent of it. So I guess like I think when people hear finished carpentry, that depends, right? Like you're doing pretty nice like built-ins and unique stairs. Like when did you start gravitating towards like? I would say the type of finished carpentry you do straddles between furniture building and finished carpentry, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I take a bit of pride in my work. I know which way things should be done. You'd be surprised at how many people don't. That you see. But I don't know. So I worked for an English guy for about 3.5 years, and we used to do a lot of work in the South End, red bricks. So we'd like the whole place would be gutted, we'd reframe it, and we'd do the finish in it, which was really nice. Cause it's not in structural. It's, new floors and stuff. But that was super nice. But I always really enjoyed the finish of it. So I left there anyways. Joined the union for a year because I kind of wanted to get my feet wet a bit more with the framing because I hadn't really learned an awful lot. So was in 723. But it was mainly
which is for people listening. That's the residential local.
Yeah. So it was. Now the name, I just lost the name. Prefab. Sorry, prefab.
Okay.
Prefab walls. It's not really too. Hard about that. You're just laying walls.
Yep.
But stayed there for a year. Went to work for another English guy. Who specialised in finish. I knew I was good at finish. So that's kind of where. So after a year in the framing, I was like, yeah, you know what, this is not for me. Yeah. So worked with him. All he done was finish as well. He kind of got a bit slow. So actually, me and a buddy started our own company. So we were doing pretty much anything. We'd take on anything. A bit of finish. We'd do a deck. We'd do whatever it took to stay busy.
Yeah.
He kind of broke away. I went my own way. And again, whatever kind of work came along. A buddy of mine was a he was a foreman for Haycon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was definitely one of the key men behind
get
me,
you
you
to
know,
go.
getting, you know, in to finish, you know,
Yeah.
full time.
Yeah. And was it, forgive me if I'm interrupting your story, but like, and maybe this is where you're going with it, but what was it that finally got you to settle and say, it's finished, carpentry that I want to do? Was it opportunity? Was it just that's what you enjoyed?
Yeah.
Could it be something like there's a need? There's a, like, what was...
I just kind of, so.
But you say you love it?
Well,
And it's okay to say no, because I don't love code consulting. Right?
Well, you know,
like, I do it, and I like construction, but I don't,
Yeah.
you know, like...
you know, you see some guys on, you know, Instagram, and their whole heart is like devoted to carpentry. What can I do better? What can I do here? You know, stuff like that. I wouldn't say I'm not much in love with it like they are. There's guys out there, you know, want to prove a point here and there. Not so much. I just know what I got to do. I'm pretty good at it. There's certain aspects that I love, certain aspects that, you know, with any business you don't love. But as far as settling on finished carpentry, I just always wanted to do it. I knew I was good at it.
Yeah.
So I guess I just, one job led to another, you know, kind of like that. And that's just kind of how I mean, that's the route I always wanted to go. But you just don't know, you know.
Yes.
It's just worked out well.
Yeah, there's like lots of like very, you know, successful folks, and a lot of them say like this find your passion stuff is, they're like, you don't really become passionate about something instantly. It's like you start doing it and then you become passionate about it, right? So I wonder how much it was it like as you were getting into it, or is it that it's human nature? Did you like to be good at something and you were good at it? So like, oh, I'm going to do this because I like being good at something, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, your confidence just grows and grows, and you're just, like I said, I like to think of a good head about me as far as finish goes, and it just went on and on and on. Not giving up, you know. It's like, you know, some guys just do enough to get by, and you know they're kind of kidding themselves, and then it doesn't work out, and you don't do work any more work for that guy. Then this guy's using somebody else now. So, you know, there's a bit of loyalty there, you know, as far as like, you know, builders that you do work for. They're the ones that kind of keep you on track, but then you get to a point where you don't really need builders. You can find your own work, but building your name, reputation, you kind of need those jobs, you know. And I was kind of lucky in that, you know, aspect of things. You know, I got the nice work, I could showcase it, people could see what I could do. Yeah,
and then like it's all of it, right? Like I say, I don't love code consulting, but like I enjoy construction. I like the people that I work with. I, like you're saying, you know, do you have relationships with builders that you like working with them?
Of course,
and you like to try and be good at something and be successful, and like it's all of that.
Yeah,
right.
It's all that, you know. I gotta admit, like, schedule's very, very difficult for me. I'm like, somebody picked up the phone right now and called me and says, "Hey Sean, can you help me on this job?" I'll probably say yes when I should really be saying no, and I kind of get myself into trouble that way.
Yeah.
But you know, it's kind of like, you want to run a business, you want to have a good crew. If you find the right lads, you want to try and keep them busy. You know, so my head can't exactly be in the game the whole time as far as being on the tools. Which can kind of push things a little overboard, because people want me on the job, I can't be on the job, and I can't have my guys do the job because I don't really trust them just yet to do it. So it'd have to be on me. But a good friend of mine is saying, you know, well, you kind of have to pick and choose. You know, you either want to run a business or you want to be on the tools. So you either get smaller or you get bigger. You have to pick. You can't do both. Yeah.
What are you thinking?
At the minute, I'm not too sure. I'm really not. It's kind of like, I've had this discussion with other people too. Is like, I don't really know if my communication skills are that good, because you tell people to do something a certain way and you just don't know if they understand what you're saying, or maybe it's the accent. But you know, certain things like that there. But I felt like if I took a step back, took the nail bag off a bit more, and just stayed with them, showed them, you know, this and that, made sure they do it right, then I can leave. You know, it's just not a job of throwing your guys on site, do this, do that, come back. Job's not where it should be. People are okay with that, but I'm not. You know, it's like there's so many guys that I've seen over the years that like really shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but guys just...
Yeah, I wonder if it's like, you know, we were talking before we started and we were discussing kind of like the lean principles and like the pre-planning and like spending the time to set up a template or a jig or whatever. And, you know, you say to yourself and I say to myself that, oh, I don't have the 2 hours to spend to set that up.
Right.
Which is just stupid because in the long run, you're going to make those 2 hours up, you know, 100 times
100%
over. You know, do you think that maybe it's, you know, stepping back and saying, okay, I'm just going to spend the hours here on site, not do it myself, but like walk through with your guys. Hey, this is how we approach this. So this is how you do this, or, you know, here's what you want to do when you face this. And like, there's 3 ways to describe this. You could do this, you could do this, or do that, right? Like, I like this. You can pick what you want. You know, you don't have to do it like me.
Yep.
But and invest that time, but it means that your time then isn't somewhere else that you probably want it to be at that moment.
Right.
But is that investment?
Right. Well, you know, there's the investment, and then I'm sure as a lot of guys in the industry will know, you teach them everything and then they're gone. They're away working for themselves.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's like the simple things, you know, we could be building a bench seat and I'm trying to like draw it the way I want it built. Or maybe I don't have time to draw it the way I'm built, way I want it built, and you let them do it and you come back and you're like, well, what were you thinking? You know? So, you know, there's time wasted there. That's what I mean. If I could like step back a little bit, slow down, tell them exactly which way I want something done, and for them to do it that way. Of course, they need the right tools, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's probably more than that going on, not just me, whereas guys are like, just go and do that without taking the time. I feel like that's where, you know, we're in trouble here as far as like, you know, craftsmanship is coming. It's kind of in decline, as I can see.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, it's a great point. How do you get past that? You do all the training, and then the person leaves. And you know, have you ever heard that saying? They're like, I could spend the time and money and train them, and they might leave,
right?
Or I could not train them, and they'll stay, right?
You know, it's a battle, yeah.
Right.
You know, I'm a small business, like, you know, there's always probably somebody that's going to be a law for more, or maybe not, but. You know, you've always got that battle. You know, you want to keep lads happy, but there's only so much you can do that makes financial sense. Yeah. You know, or else they're gone, or else you just try and treat them. I don't put any pressure on my guys. You know, I say take your time, try and do it the best you can. You know, as far as like a lot of things, I'm not going to throw them in the deep end and ask them to do something ridiculous that I wouldn't trust them to do that I wouldn't do myself, or at least I'd have to be there. But. You know, I'd like to think I've got a good working environment going on. The guys are happy. I don't pest them. I don't annoy them. I just expect... they know what I expect. Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. You know, they can go to work, relax, and just get it done the right way.
Yeah, because, you know, it's funny, like this dialogue that you're having, or the thought process that you're having, it's transferable to everybody, right? And you have to figure this out. Like I've done a few episodes that I kind of call carving your own path.
Right.
And it's just people that, you know, have not taken like the typical path within construction, whatever that might be. You know, start off as a APM and then become a project manager and then a senior project manager, or start out in the field as an assistant super and senior super and operations, whatever. But I find the people that spend the time to like, oh, you know what, I kind of really like this. Let me move over here.
Right.
Even though they're moving, what might appear to be to the outside person to appear they're moving off course.
Right.
They're really like moving towards happiness rather than just up a ladder.
Right.
So I'd be curious what you think, or what you finally settle on, because like, do you want to be a business owner, or do you want to be a finished carpenter, because I almost wonder, like, I think of when I look at your work, and now I know this will feel uncomfortable and you'll be like, oh, I wouldn't go that far, but like your stuff to some degree borders on art, right? Where like,
well, I mean, it's nice to hear that there, like, but to me, it's just the way it should be, you know. But so I mean, I do get to work on some nice projects, yes. So there's nice detail involved. They're the ones that I want to be involved with.
Yep. And I think like the problem with the artist is they're never a good business person.
Yeah.
Right. And it's rare that they are.
Right.
Right. Because what are you focusing on? Are you focused on building a business, or are you focused on?
See, that's it. You know, I've never had any business experience. I've just been a carpenter my whole adult life.
Yeah, me neither.
So it's like, well, what's business? You know, you just know go put the nail bag on every day and go to work. You know, but obviously I've got guys working for me now. You got to keep them busy. You got to make sure jobs are on track. Got to make sure stuff being done right. Got to go price work to keep the guys busy. You know, it's
But what's funny though is like and where I would say you have some creativity. I look at your Instagram. What's it? You're up to like 17,000 followers?
About 17,000.
Yeah. And like that takes creativity. That's not an easy thing, right? And so, and that's great for business. That's like that's a marketing skill, right?
But I don't go overboard on the Instagram. You know, you see guys recording videos there of the most silliest of things, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. I take offense to that, but okay.
Well, some people like it based on their followers. I mean, they have a crazy amount of followers, but I don't take followers as actual talent. If you know what I mean? Yeah. So I know some some of the best in the game that, you know, probably have like 1,000 or more.
Yeah.
So followers isn't really it, but I know what you're saying. I know what you mean.
Yeah, like I don't like.
But I try to like show the cool sides of like carpentry. You know, if I feel like something's worth showing, I'll show it. But I'm not going to do it just to create a reel. You know, something like that.
Yeah, it's to share it, because like the way I look at it is like a lot of the things I try to share. Like you only see the Instagram stuff, but like especially on LinkedIn, like I'm trying to show things that like people can learn from.
Right.
Right. Yes, I like to have fun too when I shit post and shit
course.
talk and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the goal is like, hey, can someone learn from this? Or frankly, it's just like, I think this is really cool. Like
that's kind of more my thinking. It's not so much about teaching people. You know, people go, oh, I seen this here. It was really informative. I like the way you done that. I'm like, well, I didn't really intentionally mean for it to be that way. But if you learn something from it, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, and as far as like running the business side, I was thinking about creating like a set of videos of how I would do baseboard scribed, stuff like this, just so I can like send it on to them and say, watch this video, this is how I want it done. So it's like making that template that we talked about.
That's a good idea.
And that's it, you know, because I mean, there's a lot of common aspects of carpentry, as you know, like door casing, baseboard, maybe even door hardware, you know, making a template for like, you know, a mortised pocket door lock, something like that there.
Yep.
Just make one video while you're doing it. I mean, it's going to save a lot of explanation down the line. I know it's easier said than done, might not happen, but it's something I've been thinking about.
Yeah, no, you should. And then it's just like a catalog of videos. Or I bet you can even just spend the time to go find them.
Right.
They're probably out there.
Yeah, they probably are.
You know.
Yeah.
Even like a lot of the stuff that used to be on even like PBS.
Right.
Right? Like where they're, I forget the guy that would do was it Norm? Who would do the actual like furniture building and stuff?
Well, I don't know if I was around. I don't know if I was seeing those shows in PBS. How long ago were we talking?
I was young, so it was a while ago. But there used to be.
I've heard of Norm before.
Yeah, it's not This Old House. It was a different show where they would basically make furniture, and they'd show you how to do, you know, a mortise and tenon joint or a dovetail joint, or you know, and like. I'm not even into that, but I would just sit down and I'd be fascinated. I would just like watch it. I'd be like, oh, that's cool.
See, I know buddies of mine be watching, oh, you follow this guy on YouTube? I goes, carpentry is the last thing I'm looking up on YouTube. I don't want to see anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like I like to give myself a bit of a chance. If there's something that I don't really know how to do, I'll find a way of doing it. You know, there's different aspects. So I could be doing something else, and I know like an actual master at it. So I'll be like, hey, I've got this job. Which way should I approach it? You know, like I've done that recently, and it's been great, especially Instagram, because I follow so many incredible craftsmen on there, and it's just like great to have that, you know, as backup if you need just help in anything. You can ask them.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I want to see what you end up deciding. You know, do you go the route where, you know, you do try to run the business more, but the problem is, will you be happy doing that?
Right. Well, the carpentry field is pretty, you know, wide and varied. A lot of the stuff that I do isn't, you know, it's not so much your simpler stuff, you know, it's more, you know, it's a little bit more difficult than your regular run of stuff. So like I said, it's like the communication thing. It's like, I know which way I want to do it, but can I tell this person to do it the way that I want to do it without having to do it? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, because you could explain to me for fucking 10 hours. Right. I'm not going to be able to do it.
Right.
That's just not my skill set. Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You could like, here's how you do this. And I'll be like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I can't do that.
So my lead guy, Lucas, is fantastic. You know, he's great. He's from Brazil. He seems to pick up everything. Got a great mind, got a great eye for detail. But, you know, there's certain things that, you know, he might find difficulty with, like, we done a foyer. I think I just posted about it this morning. It's kind of a weird approach. You know, how do we? Because we had like 4 or 5 walls, and just weren't too sure how to approach it because we took the sheetrock off because there were some areas that we just couldn't build out any further.
Yeah.
So
was it a paneling job?
Paneling job.
So you pulled the sheetrock on, the panel was directly applied to the
so we put like a 1/4 inch plywood in behind it. You know, there was obviously not a lot of strength on that.
Yeah.
But then we were kind of like, well, how do we build this? So it was a job for me. I couldn't really quite articulate it, so I sent my guys to another job while I went and thought about it. Then I decided to pre-assemble everything outside. We could fit everything in the door, pre-assembled in sections, which worked out beautifully. But it's like that example, you know, I couldn't quite explain how I wanted it done without having to do it myself.
Did you bring them to show them what you did?
Just after I'd started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, they'll learn from that, right?
Of course. Yeah. So it's stuff like that there. You know, we don't do, like I said, it's not super difficult, but sometimes we're doing stuff that's not your run of the mill.
Yeah,
you know?
It's challenging.
Yeah.
Huh. Do you ever miss doing more than just finish?
Yeah. You know, it'd be like the simplest little thing. You have to like frame up a wall. I'm like, you know what? I miss this. You can just get the thing going. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, yeah. And I think variety, like there's that saying, the variety is spice of life. It's like true,
right?
Like we were talking beforehand. Like I feel like that's this podcast for me,
right?
Because if I had to just do my work 5 days a week,
yeah,
I'd be thoroughly bored,
right?
But mixing something completely different, like it helps. It like puts you in like a different mind space, like, and I think it makes you better at the other stuff because you've like disengaged from it,
of course.
And then when you go back, you're like, okay, now I'm going to sit down. Let's go
refreshed,
after this, right?
So that for me actually is like built-ins and cabinets. So whenever I'm doing cabinets at the shop, that's a nice change. It might all seem like finished, but it's not to me.
Okay.
You know, it's different. I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. So that kind of breaks it up a bit as well.
Yeah. Why do you think what's different about it?
I don't know. It's just something about built-in boxes, I guess.
Is it because it's more repetition than the other thing, or is it that
I don't know. Well, you know, built-ins are all different shapes and sizes, but I don't know. I just get satisfaction a lot of the time. You know, I'd be in the shop by myself, and I just, you know, listen to whatever I'm listening to, and I go at it, and I enjoy it. I actually find it quite relaxing, just being in the shop, doing my own thing, not having to worry about anything else. But
will you do just run-of-the-mill cabinets too, or are you only doing like
so a lot
higher
of
end stuff?
Mainly custom.
Yeah.
You know, custom stuff, custom sizes.
Yeah.
But as far as like, where do I see myself, I kind of, like I said, I kind of feel like on a personal level, I kind of feel like the job site, installers isn't in a great, isn't in great shape. I feel like there's guys out there that maybe don't know or aren't doing the job that they should. So I kind of feel like, I'm kind of strong in that field too, but built-ins is kind of like another thing that I enjoy doing. But I won't give up on the field stuff either, because I know we're good at it.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like...
I know somebody that, had a cabinet shop as an add-on to their business.
Right.
And they're exploring, making that
Full-time.
or becoming like a part of their business unto itself, which is they'll make the cabinets for other people. They'll just,
of course,
produce cabinets.
Yeah.
Not install them, not just
right.
become almost like a manufacturer. Obviously, you're not an assembly line; it's more custom.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that take out the
fun?
The fun or the variability of having to deal with like the headaches of the on the job stuff? Do you like?
Well, there's There's headaches. There's headaches either way, isn't there? Really, there's timelines to meet. There's details that might be a little trickier than other things.
You probably have to get a lot more into drawings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of have it, like I said, I have it on my own mind. I mean, you give me like a simple drawing, some simple dimensions. I don't always need to throw it into a computer. Just a bit of plywood and a pencil. Have the rips written down, lengths I need. Not the fanciest of tools, but I know I can do a nice job. So
interesting. I mean, we've been talking about this a bit, but one of the questions, because I think a lot of people struggle with, and not just specifically in the trades, but generally in life, like how do you transfer? And it sounds like you don't really know the answer yet, and I don't know the answer either, but like how did you swap though? But maybe better way said, not that you've like figured out what being a business owner is, but how do you switch from being an employee and a tradesperson to a business owner?
Well,
and do you get stuck? Do you kind of start acting like a...
I mean, there's really not an awful lot to it. As far as my business goes, I mean, I'm a subcontractor a lot of the time, so, I mean, I give somebody a price. It's usually not a big job. It's usually like a trim package, or it's usually a built-in. So, like invoices, estimates, I'll do all that myself because, it's nothing crazy to handle. I've got a bookkeeper. She checks in every now and then. Not really that difficult. I mean, my worries is at the start were finding work. Had to find the work before I done anything else. So as far as like a business owner, I mean, just trying to find work, keep busy.
But that hasn't been a problem.
Hasn't been a problem, no. And I don't think a lot of people find that in our trade. If you're like a carpenter, a general contractor, they've got more headaches, more stuff to deal with. But me, it's been minimal, to be totally honest.
All right, gun to your head.
Well, maybe I should be doing a bit more, but I'm not.
Yeah, well, yeah, you were talking about it, like, how much more do you, the classic phrase is work on the business, not in the business.
Right.
Yeah. Is that sounds like that's the next step if I'm
I'm
right.
thinking so. I guess there comes a time in everyone's life where you think, okay, maybe I need to do this maybe I need to step away from this and do a bit more of this. But that's something I'm going to look into. If I can stay off the tools a little bit more than what I am, that's something I'd want to do and manage better. That's kind of the direction I want to go. So,
did you have to like mentally change your mindset at all? Because I think of like the mindset as an employee is different than a business owner, and it takes like some confidence.
Right. I guess you just grow, don't you? It's like I was a carpenter / businessman. I've gotten more into like like networking. I met you through Instagram. Said let's grab a coffee sometime. Yeah. I like the network. I like to meet interesting people. It's also good for business, you know. But I guess it's just something you grow into, I suppose.
Yeah. I think it's funny, if you start younger, it's almost that I think it could be easier.
Right.
Because the more you know, the more you realize the amount of stuff you don't know.
Right.
Because I even had people being like, you know, I can't believe you did that at your age with a kid at home, this and that, and blah, blah. And
see, I don't know, you know, because I was doing it from such an early age, and then you're just doing it for money out of high school. You're not really into it. Well, I wasn't anyways. So I kind of feel like, you know, there was guys even in the union that had like dropped out of college. They had tons of debt probably, and they're just in framing union to get money, but they're also a lot more mature, so they're also more driven. So I kind of felt like it took me to get to Boston to really mature into this and to really have that drive to succeed, which I kind of feel like a lot of people do in America.
Yep.
You know, which makes this land great.
Yeah. And I guess that's right there is like a mindset. Maybe even coming here changed your mindset, right? Like,
Big
okay,
time.
if I'm going to fly to the other side of the fucking world,
Yeah.
I'm going to do something. I'm not going to go there to...
Yeah, I'll be honest, like, you know, when I first got here and when I was staying here, when I decided to stay, I was like, you know, it can be a lonely place. You know, your family's gone, or on the other side, you know, in Ireland.
Yeah.
Your friends are also back there too, so, you know, I just knew that I wasn't going to fail. You know, I knew people that went away, parents had to go send them money, all this here stuff. That wasn't going to be me ever.
Yep.
You know, so I was always driven. You know, so I definitely wasn't gonna fail.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that is mindset, right? Like
Right.
it might have just been naturally there, or you didn't consciously think about it, but like that mindset, whether it was, hey, I'm moving to a new place, I'm not going to move to a new place to.
So that wasn't well. Yeah, I suppose it was the first time. The first time he came to America, I mean, you know, I just instantly fell in love with the place. You know, love movies.
Yeah.
So you're in America now, and you see the school buses and all this here stuff, and you're like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I'm really over here. The heat of the summer, nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of that 2008. So yeah, I love this place. It's class. So I back and forth a few times, and then I decided to stay. And it was kind of like the first few months. I did find it difficult. You know, I was a bit homesick.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not gonna fail here. I have to keep going. You know, I was unhappy like for a few years. You know, not taking away from my old boss, but you know, it was a bit of a difficult time for me. But I'm glad I done those years. You know, it's kind of like kids and all these days are not happy doing something, they just quit immediately. You know, I kind of not so much suffered, but I wasn't the happiest.
Persevered.
Persevered.
Yeah.
But I'm delighted that I stuck with it because I learned a lot from that guy, and I have a lot to thank him for at the same time.
Yeah.
So, you know, you hear that. Don't give up. I'm not a motivational speaker, like, but I knew I had to stick it out, and I did, and that's part of the reason why, you know, I have what I have today.
Yeah, and you need that in your own business. That's for sure, because there are times where it just absolutely sucks.
Of course,
you know, and you just got to push. But I wonder, even moving away from family and friends and where you were, like, your environment matters, right?
Yeah, of course.
And like, it's human nature, and this isn't just about you, or it's anybody. If you're in the same place with the same people, you're going to be more inclined to be stuck in the same
mindset,
ways and same mindset.
Yeah.
You know, I knew there was a younger guy that, you know, I would call him a friend, but it was more like he was much younger, and Karen and I both, you know, loved him, and, you know, wanted to help him out and everything. And then he ended up going to prison. He went a couple times, and then, but it was funny, once he came back, like, you saw him go start hanging out with the same people again and going on the same corner, and it was like, the ending's written.
Well, you know, it's kind of
right?
funny.
And
you bring up a good point, because people would often say, especially, you know, here when they go back down, oh, well, your man's still on the same chair, drinking the same beer, you know, people are still doing the same thing. You're 100% right, like, you know, but some people decide to get out of that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I love
No.
I love going back home. Some people are just more comfortable there.
Yep.
But I guess once I got a taste of America, I was like, yeah, this place really has got a grip on me, because I was at home for 6 months, 2009, and it's all I could think about was getting back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, you know, it's probably all those things, right? Like you think like, okay, I don't want to blow this opportunity. You had a good foundation as far as learning, you know, and you had good skills, and, you know, and then there was nobody there telling you you can't do that. Right. Like I just came from a family that would be more of like, you know, the mindset of like, oh, get a good job, or, oh, if you can get a city job and be there for 30 years and get a pen, like that's safe. And like, don't, like, everybody was, don't take chances. Don't.
Well, you know, my father.
I'm not saying that that's your family, but I'm just
course.
saying everybody has that thing where they come from.
Right.
You know, and it's, if you're in it, it's tough. But once you are able to step away, I think it sometimes can be freeing. It could be in a good way or a bad way, but it like, it allows you to like change course. Right.
You know, my dad wouldn't be one of those people to say, oh, you know, get a job, do this, that. He didn't really say anything. He just knew that I was going to work every day. And then, like I said, me and my friend went out on our own. My buddy Gavin, he's got his own construction company now, Blacklock Construction. Good friend, still best friends. But
is he here or back home?
He's here.
Okay.
But it was kind of him that really got me out on my own. You know, us two going out. He was the one that got like the first big break. You know, me and him went into it as partners. You know, it didn't work out. He wanted to go a different direction. He's a GC now. I'm still, you know, doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But do
you ever work for him?
Yeah, doing a job right now for him, actually. Okay. Yeah,
that's great.
But yeah, we played football and all together as well. So, but it was kind of like, I guess that was just worked out.
Yeah,
you know, we found that job, and then I was able to stay busy from that to where I am now. You just got to keep your head down. Again, you know, like I said, I was lucky. I got those nice few projects that I could showcase what I could do.
Yeah,
and
but being around other people though that are thinking these things, really matters. There's so much truth to the, you know, you're some of the 5 closest people around you, right? And I think that's what obviously makes this country great in a lot of senses, is how, the amount of people that were willing to, especially like a long time ago back in the Ellis Island days, that were willing to, or now in the days that people are coming from places where there's a lot of turmoil, and they're like, okay, I'm going to get on a boat or a plane or start walking to a place that I don't know anybody and maybe don't speak the language or whatever. Yeah. I'm going to come here and I'm going to go make it happen.
Yeah. That's it. Like, it's the strive to survive type of thing. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, we necessarily have that, but, you know, you're right. Like you say, you're around people that are successful, and you're like, you know what, if he's doing it, I can do it.
Yeah.
It's the land of opportunity, you know what I mean? If he's...
But just the percentage of people that are here that, you know, are first generation, second, maybe 2 generations removed of people that were willing to take a chance. Yeah. You know, and like, that's a lot of people. And, you know, I think of like, so on my mom's side, you know, there was a lot of people that didn't leave Italy and they stayed there. And you almost think like, hey, were the people that were like chance takers, they're the ones that got on the boat and they all came here. Right. Yeah. So I wonder if it's like by being around that mentality, and if you came here and there was other people you were friends with from back home that also had that mindset, and you're around other people that like, oh shit, look where we are. We've got let's fucking go for it. Right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it seems like, you know, like I said, it's the land of opportunity. You know, I was never truly happy working for somebody else, so I kind of always knew that I want to work for myself. Yep. You know, so I guess that was all part of it too. You know, the money thing is another thing, but I guess just having that freedom of doing your own thing
Yep.
is invaluable. Now, don't get me wrong, comes with stresses. Like, I had my uncle was over there last week, and I could barely take any time off work, which, I've got my own business. Why can't I take time off?
Yep.
Well, because this guy's on the phone. Where are you?
Yep.
It's not the way it should be. But I guess that gets a grip on some people, and then they decide to go back and work for somebody, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
But that's something, I even contemplate at times, but will it ever happen?
Yeah, like there's no right answer, right? Like even when you were deliberating, do I put the tools on and go small and just be happy being a finished carpenter and do my own thing, maybe have one helper or whatever,
right?
And jog along, or do I step back and run more of a business and focus on training and all this other stuff? One's not right, one's not wrong.
Right.
It's just, what do you want?
Yeah, that's it. You want to find happiness. If kind of feels like nowadays everyone's talking about money, money, money. Everything's money. How do I get really wealthy all this year?
Yeah.
Now more so than ever, I'm hearing it. Obviously, Instagram. You've got all these here. How to make $1 million and all this year. Pages popping up. So it's hard to know. You just got to be content if you're in the right space. Some people are content, some people aren't. Some people are more driven to make that $1 million. Some people are more content with just having enough. And there's nothing wrong with either one.
Yeah.
As long as people aren't getting screwed on the way.
Yeah, like the money's almost like, I think, secondary. Like you have to be happy with where you are in the moment. Because if you think like, okay, once I get to X, then I'll be happy.
Right.
Like you're kidding yourself. If you're not happy now, you're not going to be happy with more money. Like,
right.
That's just not the way it works. Or you're not going to be happy when this many people work for you. Or like you have to figure out how can I be happy in the moment.
Right.
And that's a challenge. And I feel like you, like, yes, the money's wonderful.
Right.
But like having my own business is entirely about
just you doing you.
Yeah, like, for good or for bad, like
Yeah.
I don't want to be forced to do anything I don't want to do.
Right.
And I'm kind of hard-headed
Yeah.
about that, and maybe to a fault, but that's where I am, and I'm happy that, like, right now I'm spending a day doing a podcast.
Right.
With you.
Yeah.
And there's nobody
yelling at you, where are you?
Yeah, about where are you, or like, is that really a good use of your time to spend a day on a podcast when we have this project being done? Like,
I put my
fuck
phone
off, I want to. Like
I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but if I take it off that, God knows, I might have a few missed calls.
yeah. But that's what it is, right? Like, so it's not. For me, this isn't about money.
Yeah.
I
don't wake up every day and think, oh, how much money can I make today? Stuff like that. That's just not me. I'm not. A lot of some people are. They're driven and they can't wait to get the work done, to get that check in the bank, and show off this and show off that. I have no interest in that.
Yeah.
I enjoy what I do. I want to have the nice tools, stuff like that. That's really all that's in my mind.
Yeah. You want nice tools. I want nice food.
Right.
I want to be able to eat at nice restaurants. I don't care about the car I drive, the clothes I wear, the house I live in. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I want really nice food. So that's my motivator. But short of that, I don't need much. But this was excellent, Sean. I think we've kind of covered. I was curious where you. Hell, I'll ask it. Gun to your head. Where do you think you'll be in 5 years?
I don't really know the answer to that one. I was talking to my wife.
I put a gun to your head. So
put a gun to my head.
You were talking to your wife.
Talking to my wife, and I was like, I think we need to start writing down some stuff here, see where we see ourselves. In a few years' time, maybe set some goals. It's not really something. You kind of get established enough for me anyways, that you're just content going as it's going.
Yeah.
But I feel like I need to start like really envisioning, because I'm not going to be the age that I am now. I'll be older next year.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I really got to think about where I want to be. 5 years is a good target. To figure out where I want to be in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get older, things change. You might not be able to do what you once did. Stuff like that. So it is good to stop and think about, the future, which I'm guessing a lot of people don't do.
Yeah, because you're caught in the current.
Yeah.
Right, you're just in the current and you're just fucking
Yeah.
getting sucked along,
Yeah.
and then you 5 years later and you get spit out the other end, you're like, what happened?
What happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
And sadly, I feel like a lot of people go through that during life, and then, they're in their latter stages of life and they've got nothing, no investments, no money in the bank. It's sad to see, but you just got to be smarter about it. You just got to stop and think, which I don't think people do, like we said.
Yeah. And I think more frightening than the investments and that kind of stuff is like they're in a job that they hate.
Yeah. And they got to continue working on it.
Yeah. And they're like, for multiple reasons, either like they've got a mortgage payment that's big.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I can't leave, so I have to stay in this miserable job.
Yep.
Or they're like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't know anything else.
Right.
I can't change.
Yep.
And it's like, I get that this is easier said than done, but there's so much you can do, right? And the amount of people that say like, oh, I can't do that because I have a mortgage pay. Like, you know what? Sell your big house and move into an 850 square foot ranch,
right?
Or rent, or do whatever, and then what you want to do. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, well, don't say you can't do this. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, no,
right?
That's a good way of explaining it. Yeah,
right. You don't want to do that, but you can, and I would argue, living in a smaller house and doing what you want, you will be a lot happier than living in a big house. Doing what you don't want.
Big time.
It's that simple. But the amount of people, oh, I can't, I have to pay for, this, or I have to pay for that. And it's like, you're a fucking slave. You're slaving to the box that you live to, right? Like,
yeah, it is that there, like, like I said, I like nice stuff for work, house is nothing too fancy at all. Yeah. I bought myself a truck last year because why not? It's a tax write-off, but the truck gets old.
Regret it.
kind of regret it, because I know in a few years' time there'll be a newer one, which I'm not into that, so I won't be selling that one to get the latest one. Yeah. But it's like, we forget, people want the latest and greatest, but there's always going to be something else down the line. So that's the way I think, like even...
Except for tools.
Like my wife, we went to T-Mobile like a couple of months ago, and they're like, oh, do you want to upgrade? I'm like, no. Why do I want to upgrade? Apple, they come out with a new phone. It's the same thing. Yeah. I don't need that 16 or whatever it is now. Yeah. It's just it's silly. Yeah. So I'm like yourself, but low key. You want your nice food and stuff like that. I'd be more content with that than having all the fancy things in life.
Yeah, and doing what you want.
Well, until I get really, really rich.
Yeah. I'm like, Sean, will you come on? Who's this? Joe who? Yeah.
Oh, you.
Yeah. But, awesome. Sean, this was excellent. I, for one, am looking forward to see what happens to Kelco in the future. Even if you did chart the same course you're doing right now, you're doing some impressive work, and you've done some impressive things since you got in here. So I appreciate you spending the time, and we'll talk soon.
Another great conversation of many, so it was nice to be here.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Sean.